everybody, it's Drybear. And today I'd like to get you acquainted with Elden Ring Nightreign. So this is going to be a beginner's guide giving everything you need to know to get started in the game. We're going to go through all the different aspects, the loops, the classes, how to play them, the 2 extra classes on how to unlock them, as well as look what you're looking for and all the unique mechanics that come along with this game as well. Now, I'm going to do at the end of the video like a Souls-like rundown for people that don't play a lot of Souls-like games, or even specifically Elden Ring, which has a lot of like knowledge that goes into it. Backstabs, fishing for backstabs, parrying, dodging, partial parrying, positioning, stagger mechanics, poise, armor value, stuff like that. Things that you would know if you played Souls-like games. So I'm not going to patronize the people that play Souls-likes, and I'll probably put that at the end of the video, but we'll go through the uniqueness and mechanical aspects of Elden Ring Nightreign that you need to know, as well as some tips and tricks along the way. So Elden Ring Nightreign is a battle royale game. You will have this fixed map that you will land in on, flying on these spirit hawks, and you will go about collecting loot. There is an in-game or in-match progression system where you can collect loot, you can get rare drops, epic drops, you can get random weapons and different things you can equip to your character that you can use throughout the match. And your goal is to survive the ever-enclosing circle called the Nightreign. That's why it's called Nightreign, is because the Nightreign closes in and forces you to fight. And you'll be exploring the area, getting to the final circle, fighting a boss. You'll do that 2 times, and then you'll fight the overall Nightlord, which is the expedition final boss of the round that you're running. And it plays just like a Souls-like game. It plays just like Elden Ring, with some added mechanics like class-based systems, abilities, and a lot more team synergy and team play. So where a Souls-like game might be more about just positioning, spacing, locked animations, and attacking when you have the opportunity, this game is a lot more about all of that, plus the abilities you have on your class and the abilities that your teammates have if you're playing in the 3-player multiplayer setup. Now, as of right now, there are 2 different ways to play Elden Ring Nightreign. You can do solo if you want to. I personally think the scaling right now is a little awkward for solo gameplay, but if you're playing, you can walk up to the expedition board here, you can go over to your matchmaking settings. This is the hub. This is like right after you finish the tutorial, this is where you spawn, and this is where you'll queue up for matches and do stuff like that. So you start your expedition, you go over matchmaking settings, and you'll have 2 options. You can either just matchmake naturally, which means it will fill a team full of 3 players. The game at its core is built to be played as a 3-player team, and that's because they have class-based mechanics. They have support-style characters, ranged DPS, melee DPS, they have tank-style characters, they have characters that have lots of disruption and CC, and you're meant to work together as a team to create an environment that is positive for you and how all your skills and synergies work together. So you will be able to do that. So if you queue up solo and you have the expedition type in the bottom left-hand corner here, you see in the very bottom left, it says expedition type. If you have that set to multiplayer, no matter what size group you have, whether it's solo or you're in a party with 1 other person and you queue up, it will fill a full party of 3 as it stands right now. Though keep in mind that they have mentioned that they will be introducing an option for duos. So if you want to do duos, that is something they're working on and will probably be available in the game at some point in the near future to play. However, if you really wanted to, you can play solo, so you can go down to expedition type in the bottom left hand corner and switch this to single player. That means that when you queue up, it'll be a solo expedition. You'll be by yourself, you're on a timer, you're facing off against the Nightreign that's closing in, and you have to kind of make sure you keep up with that progression to get stronger and stronger for ultimately the final boss of that expedition. So you have those 2 options available for you. Now, before we get into the classes, their abilities, how to build them, and what to know about them, let's just talk about the general gameplay experience. So you will land down in the map just like you would with a battle royale. You will find monsters. Your goal is to farm runes, which you see right under my head in the top right corner. You have a certain amount of runes. Every monster you kill will give you this currency, and you can take this currency to a grace, just like you would in Elden Ring, and you can spend it to level your character up. The level up process is extremely streamlined. It is very basic. You just go to a grace, and when you walk up to it, you spend your runes, you level up your character. In the top left corner, you can see I'm level 1 right now, but if I go to a grace, I can level up. And this scales the stats and damage of your character based on what character you're playing. So if you're playing a DPS character, it might give you more damage. If you're playing a tank character, it might make you tankier and give you some mitigation, that sort of thing. So you can actually earn that. So your goal when you land down in the area is A, to avoid the forcing function, which is the Nightreign. It'll constantly get smaller and smaller and smaller. When you're standing in the Nightreign, it will deal continuous damage to you and will kill you if you stay in it, just like a battle royale. So you're collecting these runes as much as as you can, and you want to level up as much as you can before you face off against the bosses that you'll find out in the world and the final Nightlord for that expedition. So your goal is to get as strong as possible in the time that you have allotted without dying, and go to the boss to complete it. You will also find treasure chests and loot drops, and when you kill mini bosses and elites, you will find special drop chances as well. So you'll see these items on the ground. There are 3 categories of items. There are your main weapons, so like main hand, offhand, just the same weapon types that you have in Elden Ring, shields for guarding, and then you have like catalysts and things for casting spells. You have ranged weapons, melee weapons, that sort of thing. You can also equip consumables, which have a consumable belt. This is like giving yourself temporary buffs, applying elemental status to your weapons, dealing damage to enemies, that sort of thing. And then the last one is going to be talismans, which is again just like they are in Elden Ring. They give you special bonuses and buffs that you'll equip, and you'll only get these by killing the flask bugs out in the world as you're running around. Now, these items that you get do have rarity. So you can see this is one of the drops that you get from an elite. It's blue rarity. It's the only 3 rarities in the game right now. There's the normal quality, there's rare, which is blue, and then there's epic, which is purple, and it just scales up the effects of that weapon, giving it more damage or more stats, and in many cases can give it more passive bonuses as well. And you can, as you get random loot throughout the process, create your own build. You can create a guardian build that has a lot of stagger damage, so you can knock over enemies easier. You can create a status build with like the Duchess, applying bleed or applying frostbite or poison, things like that. Or you can create crazy two-handed weapon damage or spellcaster damage, and all of that comes into just kind of picking the items as you go along and creating your own experience based on the class you're playing and what you're looking for in the process, and then moving along. So on this map, you can see the blue circle, that's the Nightreign. At set intervals, it will get smaller and smaller and smaller, and you want to make sure that you stay out of it. So that is the basic overview of the gameplay. Now let's talk about the classes that you're going to choose. So when you are here in the round table hold, you will be able to select your class. And these are the named characters, the Nightfarers, the heroes of the story, and you get to choose one of them. There's no limitation right now. They kind of teased this when they were releasing it, that maybe they would force, only one of each character on each run, but you can have duplicates as it stands right now. So in the night table hold, this area here, the round table hold, there will be a special pedestal right here, which is this. You see this little guardian here standing with the statue and the little bell icon. This is where you change character. You can actually bring up your map as well, and you can see this on the left side. You can go down to like character selection and teleport here. It'll take you here and will allow you to choose from the 8 characters in the game as it stands. When you first start, you will only have 6 choices. 2 of these characters are extra, the Duchess as well as the Revenant. They are super easy to unlock. In a matter of like an hour or 2, you can have both of these unlocked. You just have to know where to go, and I'll tell you how to get those in just a moment. But let's walk through a brief overview of all of the classes and what they do, so you can understand what their purpose is and how they excel in the match, and kind of figure out which one might be for you. Starting with the default character, the one you do the tutorial with, the Wylder. So all characters, all classes in the game have a passive, a regular skill that is on a cooldown, and an ultimate that they can use very, very infrequently. You have to build up the charge for your ultimate, and you can use it. And they all do different things. For the Wylder, the passive is cheat death a single time, which means if you were to die, you don't instead, which is really nice. Then they have a grappling hook, the claw shot, and the big ultimate is the onslaught stake. Now, when you're in round table hold, there is a sparring area which will allow you to test out the abilities of your character and try things. So from the change character area here, you can turn left and go out the doors this way. So run this way, turn and go outside. And when you enter into this area, notice that I bring my weapon out, and I actually have the thing on screen which allows us to try out the ability. So normal Souls-like, you have your light attack, you have your heavy attack, you have your charge and all of that, but you also have your class abilities. On controller, you would use, like, as you can see right here, I'm using a PlayStation controller. You can hold triangle and use L2 or R2 to your ability. So for the Wylder, he's kind of an all-rounder. He's very good at combat. He can use pretty much any weapon that he wants, has some really good damage on the target that you can deal, and they also have a lot of flexibility with movement as well. His first ability is Claw Shot. You activate this, and it'll bring you to the target. If the target's really light, like a very, cannon fodder style enemy, you can bring them to you. But this allows you to reposition a lot of ways. You can do it on a boss, you can get in. There's a lot of bosses like Nightlords in the game that are high mobility and hard to keep up with for melee. So having this grapple shot is real nice. You can move in on it. And the ultimate, which you use on PlayStation controller, is triangle R2. This is a big wind up. You hit it and it goes, nah, boom, and does a big bunch of damage. So not a whole lot of like team synergy other than repositioning small enemies, but it's very flexible, very easy to play, and very good starter for a lot of people if that's what you're looking for. You just want to play a Souls-like battle royale and play with the grapple and the shot. That is the Wylder. Next up is the Guardian, and this is your CC style tank. You can still use great weapons and do excellent damage with him, but he excels really well at being a guard or frontliner for the team. And his ultimate has a really cool effect in that it can instantly res teammates that are on the ground, which makes him one of 2 characters that can do that, which is exceptionally useful. When teammates are incapacitated, you can use your ultimate to land on them, instantly revive them, which is really cool. So we're going to select the Guardian and go out into the area and show what he does specifically. His passive allows him to do some really cool things with guarding. So he actually has a lot of scaling with guarding. So blocking, using your shield for that. You can actually scale with that super well. So you can actually do this to do a steel guard. So if you do this together and you go like this, you can do some really cool stuff with that. His regular ability, which is on a cooldown, is Whirlwind. This is kind of like the halberd ability from Elden Ring. And this one has a small amount of damage, a good amount of stagger on it. But most importantly, what it's good for is that any enemy that can be knocked up will be, which means, and it's on a very short cooldown as well. So the Guardian can walk into a fight with a whole bunch of cannon fodder enemies, pop the wing gust, and knock them all up in the air. And even some of the mini bosses and elites, if they're small enough size, will get popped up into the air and CC'd as well. Now, obviously, the low damage on it doesn't mean you're going to be killing enemies, but if you can CC the enemy, you're making the area safer for your teammates, which is super awesome. So a well-played Guardian is welcome in any team. His ultimate is Wings of Salvation. You will activate this and fly up into the air. You get a little bit of a targeter, and then you land down and you smash. It does a good amount of damage, like a medium amount of damage. It's quite respectable. It will create a protective area in the area as well and give some nice minor buffs to your teammates. But as I mentioned, if you have a teammate that's on the ground and dying, like they're incapacitated, you can go up in the air, target them, land on them with this, and it will instantly revive all teammates in the area. It is so clutch, and it can save a team from losing outright. Next up is the Ironeye, and it is like Souls games in general, like FromSoft style Souls games, they never really have good ranged gameplay in general. Like, it's always very limited, has ammo consumption, ever since like the ranged gameplay of like using the repeater crossbow in like Dark Souls 2, they've just never really liked ranged gameplay, and so you kind of play it as a support. But playing it solo is just been very weird and janky for Souls games, but not in Nightreign. The Ironeye is actually very powerful, very flexible, and does some cool things. His passive is Eagle Eye, allows him to obtain more items more often from foes. You can get a lot of really cool drops for this, consumables, gear, things like that. And then his regular ability is super clutch. So what this does, you will activate this and you'll dash forward with a dagger. So you'll fly forward. If you hit the enemy, you'll notice that it now has those red marks on the target. You are now marking that target to take additional damage. This works for your team as well. Super strong, a very powerful ability, so you can mark a boss and make them take more damage, and gives you a lot of really good team scaling synergy there as a damage dealer, which is really nice. He scales best with ranged abilities and ranged weapons. There's no ammunition in the game. You can use ranged weapons infinitely. It just costs stamina to fire. So super straightforward, but he gives a lot of really good damage here. And because he's ranged, he can take down flyers like the gargoyles or the bats, or even the misbegottens when they're up in the air, which is really nice on top of that. And he also can hit weak points. So when you're facing a giant dragon, you can shoot the dragon in the head repeatedly, which does more damage than the rest of the body, which is super useful. So you can get some really nice damage out of that as well. And then when your team is there, you can jump in and mark the target on top of that. His ultimate is like the big wind-up from like Final Fantasy XI Ranger, the big wind-up shot. This thing is a huge destructive force. So you activate this and you'll be able to do a wind-up based on how long you hold it. You plant the bow and you wind up. And then when you release, it does this huge line attack. It knocks enemies down. It does a bunch of stagger. It does crazy damage. It's super useful, and you want to use it early and often to help control the battlefield. Based on how much you wind it up, it might give more or less stagger on it as well. You can hold on to it and then release it, and that big gust of wind is there as well. So a good, well-played Ironeye can give you more items, it can make the boss take more damage, and can create a lot of space in the area and hit weak points as well, which is super cool. Next up is the big boy, the Raider. This guy reminds me of like a For Honor character, but this boy is just a brawler. He gets in the fight and he stays there, and he's got some really cool utility as well. Now he has some mechanics around poise and being able to take shots and get super armor from that standpoint as well. He excels really well with like big two-handed weapons. You can run whatever you want on him, but he's really good at staggering enemies and dealing stagger to them as well. So I recommend using a two-hander, a heavy two-hander if you can. His passive allows him to build up more hyper armor. And also when he's doing his retaliate, his basic ability, his passive means that he can't be knocked down. So no matter who you're facing, a boss or something like that, if you're doing your regular ability, you won't be knocked down, you will finish it. Obviously, you'll still take damage, but it means you won't get interrupted, which is super useful. So this is his regular ability, Retaliate. You activate this, and he'll do a stomp, and then he'll punch. It doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, but it does a lot of stagger poise damage. You'll knock down bosses, so you could do a critical strike, the riposte, as Dark Souls 1 called it. So you can actually have that there. So you do this and punch. You can knock back enemies, even like medium-sized mini bosses and elites. You can knock them down with this, which is super cool. Which again, like the Guardian, creates a lot of opportunities for your team to punish the enemy, because you can do stagger damage that way and knock them down. Then his ultimate is a very unique ability that takes some getting used to. So what this does is you will charge up and then you will create this big wall. It is actually a deployable. It does do respectable damage, and then it creates this deployable on the ground which has collision. So you can use it to block projectiles, you can stand behind it, you can climb up on top of it as well and be on top of it. You can put your Ironeye up here and it can be shooting arrows at people. You can even, as you get more advanced, if you have a teammate that's on the ground incapacitated, you can walk up to them, stand on top of them, raise them up on a platform, and then you can go about rezzing them by hitting them while you're up here, so the enemies can't hit you and stop you from rezzing them, which creates a lot of opportunities. You just have to be kind of careful, because it will actually sometimes block you from getting items. It can create a lot of weird collision inside of like tight corridors, right? So like if you go inside of like one of these spaces or something and use it, it will create some weirdness. You got to be really smart about how you use it, but it is a unique ability that has a lot of flexibility to it and makes the Raider a really nice, well-rounded brawler to the lineup. Next up is the Recluse, and this is your sorcerer mage, your Gandalf of the group. If you like doing spell casting in Elden Ring, Nightreign, this is the character you want to go for. And just like the Ironeye, where there, previously in Souls games, there were always downsides and problems with using ranged weapons with ammunition. They solved a lot of that with the class design of the Ironeye. The same thing goes for the spellcaster. And the first question you're going to ask is, if I pick the Recluse, how do I make sure I maintain my mana, right? Like obviously everyone else is just shooting with infinite ammo and swinging their weapon with no downside. How do I make sure that I can actually maintain my mana? Because if I have a spell cast, you'll notice that as I cast, in the top left corner, my blue bar, the FP, that's my mana, that's my FP. I have to use FP to cast. So the way this works is you have an infinitely replenishable FP source. So you'll notice that when you hit an enemy with a spell, they get this blue ringed icon around them. So if we look at this, you see on this target, you see that icon that's there. If we go to a different target, it doesn't have it. This one, if we hit it with a spell, it does. That's your first ability. So if you were to use your first ability, boop, you will absorb the mark from that enemy and gain FP for it. And in the bottom of the middle of the screen, you can see that my ability just gained and absorbed. Depending on what spell you use on the target, it will get a different colored circle. You can combine different colors together. And then once you've absorbed 3 spells to get what you need from it, so I'll get this, you can see that all 3 of those circles around my first ability are filled up. The next time you use that ability, instead of absorbing mana, it will cast this like persistent spell that will fly towards the target and do consistent damage. It's like a nice little like tick, it explodes, it does AoE, it's like this little wisp that follows them around, and it's based on the elements that you absorbed when you did it. But again, you're in that loop of absorbing to get mana, casting spells to do damage, absorbing to get mana, casting spells, and so you have infinitely replenishable mana, and they do a crazy amount of damage. It's actually nuts how much damage that they could do. And there's also there's little butterflies you can collect. You can go to trees to collect FP, that sort of thing. And when you go to the Graces, they replenish your FP as well if you get into a spot. So if you're going to play the Recluse, I would recommend keep an eye on this icon and absorbing as often as you can to keep your FP up. You don't have a flask that gives you FP unless you do like the bubble tiers later on in the game. So you really need to make sure that you're casting and balancing that casting with absorbing to keep your FP high. But you do get a benefit for doing that because it creates this additional ability that does damage from that standpoint as well. The ultimate is Soul Blood Song. Super utility. So this does a decent amount of damage. When we activate this, it'll do this big AoE. It's a pretty long animation, so you want to be careful of that. But you'll notice that now these targets have this like triangular icon on them and they're bleeding. So all of these targets are now marked. This is a great debuff on the target. It only comes from your ultimate. When you or allies deal damage to the target, you will actually end up absorbing and leeching from them, which is huge. It can leech HP. I believe it can also leech FP as well. So when you'll deal damage, you'll be able to see how it got blue and red just went into me. As long as they're marked, anyone that attacks can restore HP and FP by leeching it from the target while that debuff is there. So again, a very nice synergy. If you have a Recluse on your team and you're in a tough spot and you see this mark go up, go ham on the target and recover as much FP and MP or FP and HP as you can and build up that way. There's a bunch of catalysts in the game and staves with all kinds of spells on them that you can use. You don't have to use just the one I'm using here. You get all kinds of spells to choose from, but that is the basic loop for the Recluse. Lastly, for the 6 starter characters is the Executor, and this is essentially, someone in my chat always calls him the Sekiro guy, and I agree. He is basically the Sekiro guy. He has some really cool abilities, but he has the ability to transition into a temporary state that makes him play like Sekiro does, which is really cool. So let's select him and show what he's got here. On the passive side, you receive a boost after recovering from status ailments. So if you were to cleanse a status ailment, you get a nice boost from that. But he has a starter, which is the Uchigatana, which is one of the strongest starter weapons in Elden Ring, mainly because it comes with the weapon art Unsheath. This is one of the strongest abilities in the beginning stage of Elden Ring. High damage, high stagger, very low FP cost, super strong. But he just has the basic movement here. And then his first ability is called Cursed Sword. You'll notice that on his hip here, he has his normal weapon, but he also has this like mortal blade like you would in Sekiro, right? The red blade. If you activate your first ability, you will bring out the Cursed Sword and it functions like a normal weapon. The major downside with this, you'll notice, is now I'm walking instead of running. If I put the weapon away, I can run, I can move. If I bring the weapon out, I am now walking. So when you're in this state, you're ready to engage. If you want to move, you got to put it away to move, but it's a permanent state. You can bring it out and keep it out as long as you don't remove it. You're ready to go. And it functions just like a regular weapon. You can deal damage with it. It scales with your character level, so you can use it all game long if you want. It does really good damage. However, it has its own set of abilities. So you can attack, you can heavy attack, you can charge attack if you want to. You can even do backstabs and the riposte, critical strikes that you have that as well. However, you have 2 new abilities with this. The first one is Deflect. So if you ever played Sekiro, this is the Sekiro parry. If you activate this as the enemy is coming in with an attack, you will deflect it instantly and take no damage. You will also build up stagger on the enemy as well. So if you want to be a parry god, the Executor is perfect for that. You also will kind of build up some power for the sword. So if you get enough parries with this, your sword will start to glow yellow, and then your normal ability, so this is your skill. If you press L2 on PlayStation, you will dash forward and do this wide attack, which is super useful. However, if it's supercharged, which means you got those Sekiro parries, you will actually have a glowing orange sword, and then when you do this ability, it will go further and do a bunch more damage. So that is the beast there. His ultimate is super unique. It is a full-on transformation. It's called Aspect of the Crucible. You basically turn into a Crucible beast as well. So you activate this, and for a short period of time, you are now a big dog. Lots of AoE damage, lots of damage. You'll notice that my HP bar doubled as well. You can die in this state. Even though it gives you a bunch of maximum HP from this, you can die and take the damage here. And then when you transform out, you'll notice that my HP goes back to the max HP that it was before. So when you're in this ultimate, you get double HP, but it is still your HP. You can die while you're in this. And while you're in this state, you have your normal abilities. You have your light attack, you have your heavy attack, you have your charge attack. You can do jump attacks and plunges as well, which is really cool. And then you also have your L1, which is a roar. So big AoE roar. I find this really useful for rezzing lots of teammates. So if you have 2 teammates down and you go into your ultimate here, you can actually go into the state and you get near your teammates and you can just roar on them over and over to res them very easily, which is really nice. And you can use that extra HP to deal some damage on there as well. And then when you're ready, you can do your L2, which is a supercharge attack. You'll bring out this blade and you'll do a big swipe. However, every time you use that ability, it will end your ultimate. So use it towards the end of the timer. So when you're ready to go, you can hold L2, swipe this, do some really nice burst damage on the target or AoE, and you'll exit the state as well. So that's the Sekiro guy. So those are the 6 starter classes. There are 2 extra characters that you can earn very quickly once you know how to get them, which is going to be the Duchess and the Revenant. For the Duchess, all you have to do is complete several expeditions. I think you can get her unlocked in one expedition if you beat the Nightlord. Like if you beat the boss of that expedition and complete the expedition, I think she's available right away. However, as you do expeditions, you will get a unique item that drops from an expedition with a set chance. It's very high chance you'll get it pretty quickly. Most people get the old pocket watch to drop within like their first couple expeditions. Once you have the old pocket watch in hand and it drops, all you have to do is go to the robed girl here in the round table and give the pocket watch to her, and you will instantly unlock the Duchess, which looks like this. Just go to the hooded woman once you have the pocket watch in hand and just give her the pocket watch, and you'll get the Duchess unlocked. Good to go. And you can think of the Duchess as like the rogue style character. She has lots of dodging. She can double dodge. She can flip dodge. She has some really cool like stealth mechanics. She can apply stealth to her and her teammates. So let's let the Duchess and show what we got going on here. She's also incredibly fast. Like she's just a fast assassin rogue style character. She scales really well with like S-stocks, rapiers, daggers, that sort of thing. But you'll notice that you can like double dash. She almost feels like a Bloodborne character. So if the Executor is the Sekiro character, this is like the Bloodborne character. You'll kind of have that like Bloodborne glide, and you can also do like some crazy flips and stuff too. So if you're like locked onto a target and you're like go backwards, you can do these crazy like flippity doos. She's super fast. There's also a passive ability you can unlock by progressing through the game that gives you longer iframes on your dodges. If you get an epic version of that on the Duchess, she's like a god. She could just dodge everything. She's so fast and flexible and all of that. So you kind of go in, and a lot of times you'll end up using like daggers with combo attacks and that sort of thing. Her first ability is called Restage. She uses the pocket watch to repeat damage. So when you activate Restage, she flips her pocket watch, and then any damage you've done in the last 5 seconds gets repeated on the targets that received that damage. So notice that if I attack the target once, it does 82 damage. If I attack the target once and then do my pocket watch, it'll do that damage again, right? It's not full damage, but it's most of it, which is really cool. So you can do like, 5 seconds of damage, activate your pocket watch, and it just pops and does more damage. So there's a little bit of a gameplay here of snapshotting your damage. So you go up and do the damage to the target, activate the pocket watch, and you can keep attacking. You notice the damage number keeps going up and up. As we do this, we're just gonna keep popping it. It's a really cool DPS mechanic, and it also applies status effects as well, which I think is her best build as it stands currently. Get a dagger or an S-stock with a status effect on it, like bleed or frostbite or something. Build up that status on the target, and then pocket watch, and you'll build up even more, and you can trigger it to do crazy damage as well. Her ultimate is very straightforward. It's just a shroud. When you activate it, it does this little shroud. You and all of your nearby teammates will become translucent and be stealth, which means enemies will have a hard time targeting you. Oftentimes, if you aren't attacking the enemy will just be like a guard in Metal Gear Solid of like, oh, it must have been the wind, and they just walk away. Like, they don't even know where you are. Obviously, if you start dealing damage to the target when you're in stealth, they will react, but it gives you a little bit of freedom of not being aggressively targeted by enemies, and gives you a lot of freedom that way to kind of help build around your team, and it's a really nice utility all around. Then lastly, we have the Revenant, the summoner of the group. She summons multiple spirits, so if you like the spirit ashes of Elden Ring, this is the character to choose. This is also an extra character. I don't know exactly what the conditions are, but typically by the time you unlock Duchess, you will also unlock Revenant. What happens is once you've done a couple expeditions and or you've unlocked Duchess, it's after a couple expeditions essentially, you will unlock an item inside the in-game store. So if you go to the round table and you go, I recognize it by the blue color. So if you're looking at the doors here on the round table, you'll notice here like to the right, you see how there's books here and it's got a purple glow. The purple glow is where the vendor is. So you come in here and you go down here and you turn left, and at the very end of this is the Jar Bazaar Rap God. So you can actually come up here and talk to this target. You'll be able to buy all kinds of things like, buffs, bonuses, emotes. You can get these little like prattling paints that allow you to say things. You can buy some of the relics, which we'll talk about in a second. However, there's a unique item that will show up once you meet the conditions for the Revenant in this store called the Besmirched Frame. You will get a currency called Merc from just doing expeditions. You can see I have 14,000 right now. It's very easy to farm. You'll get it very quickly. So do a couple expeditions and then check the Jar Bazaar for the Besmirched Frame. buy this, and once you have it in your inventory, the Revenant will then instantly show up in your round table. She normally spawns in the other side of the area here. So if I come over here and I go in this corner around the corner to the left, she will be standing right here as a ghost, and you talk to her, and then it will ask you if you want to touch the Phantom. Once you touch the Phantom, you will go into a special boss battle with the Revenant, and if you beat the boss battle, you will unlock her. So it looks like this. Once you have the Revenant unlocked, you bought the item, you can just go over to where she's standing, interact with her, and it's kind of like the Mimic tier fight where you're just gonna get spammed like crazy, but you just gotta walk over to her, talk to her, and it'll say touch Phantom. Once you touch Phantom, it'll go into this special arena. She will be there fighting, and she will spawn all 3 of her special summons, and you will need to defeat them in a boss battle. What I recommend for this is just try to engage one summon at a time. If you attack any of the summons once, they will be locked onto you and attack you constantly, and some of them do have ranged attacks as well. So, and she'll be attacking you with these holy faith-based spells as well. So I recommend just finding one of them, kill off the ads, and then kill her, and once you defeat her, it'll put you back to the round table hold, and you have her unlocked permanently as a playable character. That's the Sekiro parry, by the way. And despite her appearance, she is not the summoner from Final Fantasy X. She is actually a necromancer. So what she'll do is, her passive is when she actually kills an enemy, there's a chance that she will turn them into a spirit ash, a phantom. So she's more of the faith caster. If the Recluse is the normal intelligence caster or the mind caster, she is the faith caster. She comes spawning with an incantation that allows her to heal and do buffs, and she uses a lot of these offhand things, the chant totems that you'll use for that as well. So she spawns with a claw. She can use whatever weapon you want, but her passive allows her that when she kills enemies, she will convert them into a summon, and they will follow her around for a short time and do that sort of thing. Her basic ability allows her to choose from her 3 spirit ashes. So if we activate her ability, she will bring out the harp, and then your next input after bringing out the harp will choose one of her 3 summons. You can only have 1 active at a time, and they have a persistent health pool as well. So you notice in the bottom left, there's Helen, Frederick, and Sebastian. They all do different things and have different benefits, and usually once you have them out for a while, they can die, and then they will slowly regenerate their HP. So we can spawn Helen here. She's a very basic summon. She does melee attacks, she'll jump back and do things like that. They do very respectable damage, so playing as a summoner, Spirit Ash user is super cool. So if you only have one of these out, so notice if I spawn, if I bring this up and spawn Frederick, she will disappear and Frederick will come out. He's like a pumpkin head with crazy stagger damage, so he'll knock enemies back, he'll stagger them, do damage that way. Probably a little less DPS than Helen, but some good damage there. And the last one is good old Sebastian. He is the big, the big summon that does ranged attacks. He's locked in place, so he's like the Mariners that you have there, so you actually be able to bring it out. Here is Sebastian, so you'll summon him. He's locked in place and he can't move. He does big sweeping attacks, and then he can also meme beam as well. So he'll do ranged laser beams. Since he can't move, he has a ranged attack and a melee attack. So you see right now he's just not attacking the enemy at all because he can't reach them, but he will do roars for AoE and laser beams, and you'll cycle between them as they have HP. Again, they can die and they'll regenerate HP. So as you have this going, you can bring out your different summons. You can only have one of them out at a time, but that doesn't apply to your necromancer summons. So if you kill enemies, it'll spawn a Spirit Ash, a Phantom for that enemy, and that it can stack with your current Phantom for your Spirit Ash as well. So she can have 1 Phantom out, 1 of her Spirit Ashes, and then multiple Necromancer summons from killing enemies herself. If you get the last hit, it'll turn into a Phantom for you and fight with you as well. Depending on the circumstance and the situation, you may want to play with different ones. I personally like using Frederick the most, just because he has lots of stagger for teammates and lots of AoE, which is really cool, but you kind of play around with that as well. The ultimate is super strong, so this is Immortal March. You will activate this. Anyone who plays Wuwa, it's basically like the ultimate from Encore from that as well. So you'll notice that now me and my summon have this blue dot in the center of us. While this blue dot is on you, it's a buff that prevents you from dying. You will go down to 1 HP, but you will not die until that buff is gone. So it'll pulse, explode, now we can die. You will still take damage on your HP. It will go down to 1. So if you're full HP and you have your ultimate up, you will still take damage. damage. It just means that it'll go down to 1 and you can't die while this is up. This applies to all of your summons and applies to your teammates as well. And even better, as I talked about earlier, just like the Guardian, where he goes up in the air and lands down and he can instantly resurrect a teammate who's incapacitated, any allies that are nearby when you do this will get instantly resurrected as well. So both the Guardian and the Revenant have the ability through a skill to res teammates without having to attack them, which is super useful. Next, all of your characters will gain their power in match. So like it's all like a battle royale progression system, except for one thing, and that is your relics. So when you complete expeditions, you will get relics. You will be able to come over to the relic table and you'll be able to equip them. So you notice right now, we don't have any equipped. You have to match the color for the category of the relic that you equip. That gives all kinds of bonuses and things like that, stats and things like that. But these are the only thing you can equip for the start of a match. They give you all kinds of things like, you know, bonus stats, more stamina. They can give you bonuses to specific spell types, bonuses to specific weapon types. They can make it so that you can start with a better weapon, power up, like gives an element to your starter weapon, that sort of thing. Increase to HP, increase to consecutive attacks. There's all kinds of buffs and bonuses that you can get. So you want to equip these before you go into a match, and that is going to be your only, out of match progression that you have. And I think you have to complete one of the Nightlords to unlock this. I don't think these will show up in your jar bazaar until you've completed one Nightlord run. But once you have it, you have these different goblets that you can see. These will allow you to have different color setups on the characters. So you can load up these goblets with different relics and equip them on your character as well. But it's kind of like a more like customizable thing once you've completed your full run and beaten the first Nightlord. Then once you're ready, just go up to the table and hit commence expedition. Before you complete your first Nightlord, you will just have the Tricephalos as your first option, and you can commence solo expedition, or you can do multiplayer depending on what you're looking for. So you just got to click on this, click commence, and then you'll queue up and go join into game for your first match. When you're in a group, you'll be able to show, like, you can choose what's on here. You'll notice you'll have a color, red, blue, or green. I kind of wish they made it a little bit more colorblind friendly, but you have this option here. So let's just pick whatever. I don't know, we can run a raider just so we can show this here. You'll see what your 3 teammates are. You can have duplicates if you want. So if you want to run more than one of the same character, you can. You'll have this animation here, which you can press start to skip. Skipping, this is just a animation that hides the load screen. So if everyone skips this, so you can see skipped on the bottom right, it'll just go to a load screen. So you can skip it or not, it doesn't really matter. You'll get your Spirit Hawk and then you'll go into your Battle Royale setup. So next, let's look at the map and the icons, the things you need to know about while you're in your match. Your spawn location is random. But if we look at the map here, you'll notice all kinds of things. There's different POIs that'll have loot. These little spirit things like the blue flames going up, that is a jump pad that allows you to jump up to higher elevation. These things here are Everjails, just like in Elden Ring, so you can do it, and you can put markers down. The thing that you really want to know about is these churches. These, just like the churches in normal Elden Ring, will give you a maximum increase to the amount of healing potions, the Estices that you have. So I'll just do this live so we can talk about it. So you want to make sure that you are visiting these churches as often as possible. They don't respawn, and there's a limited number per map. So you can see there's one here, there's one up here. I highly recommend, as you get better at this game, to visit those every time before you go on, because having extra items, extra Estices for the boss fights is crucial. Every person in the party can grab them. And then your next goal is, again, just to kill these enemies, earn enough runes so that you can go to a grace in order to upgrade your character and get more stats from that as well. And again, that will change. So the graces are here. You'll see them on the map. It's just the grace icon from Elden Ring. You can go up here and you can press upgrade. It's just a single button. It'll show you what all your equipment does and how the stats scale up. It'll give you more HP, FP, and stamina. And then based on your class, it might give you a different scale on how those things go. And then you run from POI to POI, and again, trying to get these churches for the extra Estices as well. Each of the POIs will sometimes have this icon on them, which shows an element. So there might be like, the death effect. It might be a flame effect. It might be like, the frenzied flame. It might be poison. There might be different effects, and you'll find mobs running around and engaging with you as well. And each one will give you runes that you can use to upgrade your character. The next thing to know about is obviously the Nightreign. It'll start out with a circle like this, and it'll tell you what your expedition boss is in the bottom left as well. So this will start out encompassing the whole map. Then it'll go to a smaller circle that you'll have to get to, and then it'll go to the smallest circle, which the first day boss will spawn on. To get the extra Estus, you just have to walk up to the pedestal and collect it. So in the top left corner, you can see I have 3. When I collect this, now I have 4. It increases your maximum Estus. There are ways to replenish your Estus as well. So increasing that maximum is very important, and you want to do that every single time you do an expedition. I cannot hammer that home enough. And you'll also find these little areas. The butterflies heal elements. The like yellowish flowers will recover your HP. And if you ever see a ghost tree and you walk up and touch it, it'll replenish your FP. So it just gives you recovery as you go along. Each area will usually have different enemies, and as you kill them, you will get runes for collection. Sometimes they'll drop items, and you'll also find items on the ground. So like right here, you'll see this little item that we have. You can actually just activate this. It'll drop an item. You can pick through these consumables, weapons, things like that, and you can equip them based on what you're looking for. However, POIs will have mini bosses like this Guardian Golem here. If the HP bar appears on screen, you're facing a mini boss, and when you defeat these, they will spawn like a rogue-like selector for gear. So it looks like this. It'll drop. The rarity of the item is represented by the color. So if it's blue, it'll be rare items. If it's purple, it'll be epic items. You'll get 2 or 3 choices here. It'll be different items, weapons, gear, passive bonuses that you can collect. And if you get something you don't like, you can just go over it to drop it. So if I can give this to the Ironeye that might want that, we can drop it on the ground. If you want to, on PlayStation, you can hold triangle and do left analog. It'll mark a target, or you can put a marker on the ground. And if you're on the map, you can do R3 to mark an area as well, just for like marking that up, so you're kind of progressing through. There are also very big secrets on the maps. I'm not going to go through all of them because they're very niche and that kind of thing. You'll find these maps that might give you local clues. You can also find special keys like the Stoneward keys, which allow you to open up the Everjails to fight bosses. There's also special keys that open up the gates like in the Lake of Liurnia that get you into special areas that give you special loot. And sometimes you'll get these like black hole portals that will appear like randomly, and they'll spawn special elites that you can kill for special gear. So just be aware of like various things that can happen. Additionally, you can also find vendors like this that you can walk up to and you can buy things, weapons, you can buy the bubble tears and things like that, or you can buy smithing stones, which will allow you to go to these upgrade areas and upgrade any item you have. So my starter item is white. I gotta hurry because the circle is coming. Let's buy a smithing stone. So I can go over here to my starter item and I can upgrade it from white to blue and then blue to purple. So if you like your starter item, you can upgrade it fully to be competitive with every item in the game. Or if you get a new item and you want it to be a higher rarity, you can certainly do that. Also keep in mind that there is no fall damage in the game. You can jump as much as you want. I think it would have been annoying for people to have like fall down and die and you have to go res them, which is really annoying. So you can just jump off whatever you want and run around that way. Additionally, a couple tips on movement. You have 2 different sprints. You have a walk. You can hold your roll button to normal sprint, which will consume stamina, but you can also do a surge sprint, which on controller you press in left analog. And this one is just, it consumes stamina to start, but once you start, it's super fast. And this also destroys boxes and crates, which allows you to clear things. Additionally, in order to get talismans, you got to find these scarabs, which are just floating around the world. They'll just be rolling around and just be chilling and having a grand old time. Kill these, they will drop the special talismans that give special powers. They go on the ground, so you see this one gives projectile damage, has reduced drop off when you're using bows. Great for Ironeyes and things like that, so I can activate this and mark it for the guy if he wants to use it, or you can get some for your character as well. So now the circle has condensed to the smaller one. The next circle will be the final circle, and it will have an Erd tree appear above it and float above it. So if you see that, you can actually just run straight to it. As soon as that final circle appears, the outer circle will start closing, and again, if you're inside of the Nightreign, you will take ticking damage until you actually die, which is super rough. The Nightreign, I wish it had a UI element when your map wasn't out. So you can see right here, like we have all these, there's no UI element for it right now, but you can very clearly see it. It's this like glowing blue color. So my teammates are going to hate me here, but let's just go show you what it's like to die and what the Nightreign looks like. So it's just like any battle royale. If you're in it, you take ticking damage. Also, your health bar will turn this purple color to let you know that you're in it. So look at my health bar right now, it's red. If I walk into the Nightreign, it'll turn purple and it'll start ticking down. And then if you die, you'll become incapacitated. So you actually will have a marker. Again, as we talked about earlier, to be rezzed, your teammates have to deal damage to you to get you up off the ground. The more times you die, the more damage you need to take before you can get rezzed. And then if you die, which I'll show here, you will actually go down one level. So I'm level 4 right now. If I die, teammates need to deal damage to me to get me back up. That outer ring timer will be your timeout before you die permanently. You'll lose a level, you'll spawn nearby, and all of your runes, so right now I have 36,000 runes on me. When I die, I will lose them. They'll drop on the ground. I have to go back to that spot to get those runes, and then I need to level up again. So dying is very bad. You lose levels, which means you get weaker overall. So we can actually go over here and grab my runes before the circle comes in, which is going to start soon. We got to hurry. But we come over here, you see now I'm level 3. My health bar, my level is red instead of the blue that it was. But you can grab your runes where they were left off, and you can level up again to get your level back. But again, you really, really don't want to die if you can help it, because it makes you weaker. And you really, like, by the time you get to the Nightlord, you want to be level 10 to level 12 on your first run, preferably up to like level 15, which is the max, which is super important, because you will just be like less HP, less stats, less damage. It hurts you really bad to not have it. And there we go. The Nightreign commences. You can actually see, first of all, you can see it in the sky. When the final circle spawns, you'll see an Erd tree in the sky, and then you'll see it on the map as well. So usually I'll just mark it so we know where it is, and then the outer circle will start closing, and you're going to get, if you really need to get to that final circle as fast as possible, otherwise you'll just get completely screwed by this. Let's give this guy a nice little punch if we can. Punch! And then we'll move our way to the final circle. Now, the circle goes a little slow. You do have some time to get there. You just want to kind of keep a move on, right? You want to keep pace, loot as much as you can, get as much runes as you can along the way, but don't get caught up in it, because it will kill you. You will get stuck in it, and sometimes you'll get routed. Like if you're in a mine, you may not be able to get out in time. You may have to look for these jump spots to be able to get around. So here's a jump spot right over here. So I'm going to swing by. I'm going to grab this this grace, level up once so I can get to the level 6 before we go. I'm obviously under leveled because I died on purpose. But then we're going to go to this jump spot. So we're going to run up, very quickly grab this, level once, go over here, jump to the jump spot, and we're going to go whoop, and we're going to go up, and we're going to go over to the final circle. You'll also find spirit trees that can allow you to spirit hawk like you did at the beginning of the round, if you want to traverse that way as well, but just make sure you're running along and getting to that final circle ASAP. So once you arrive here, it'll wait until the circle gets really close to the end. So like right now, nothing's happening, but as that outer Nightreign circle gets to the end, you will hear a noise, and then enemies will spawn. And this is the first round of enemies. It's usually a bunch of trash and some elites and things like that. So you'll fight them. Once you defeat them, your boss will spawn, and that will signify the end of day 1. So day 2 will start right after. So let's kill these guys. Let's kill off the boss and show the next stage. So ads are dead. Boss spawns. Let's finish him off. We ended up getting the demi-humans this time around with Yoda and Maggie. So let's finish this off. So there we go. Boss defeated. Now what will happen is we will end day 1. So you see how with this final circle here, day 1 will end, night repulsed, and then we'll go to day 2. So you do 2 cycles of this before you get to the Nightlord. So we're going to go ahead and select some of these. Successive attacks give HP. That's great. Then what will happen is as day 2 starts, you'll get a grace inside to level up. Day 2 will start, and the circle will reset. So you go to the edge of the fire, wait for the smoke to appear, which clears out the fire. The circle will reset, and then all the POIs on the map will reset as well. So now the fire goes away, the circle gets reset, and now we can just go to the next POI and keep looting, keep leveling up, keep getting runes. You do this twice until you get to the first one. This guy's a gamer. He knows. He's going straight to the church. On night 2 or day 2, you'll start getting bosses spawning all over the map. These guys give you crazy good loot, but they are quite difficult. So you want to come prepared to be able to take them out, but you will want to kind of clear these. They will give you good XP, they'll give, or good runes, I should say, and good drops, but they are quite tough, and they'll be like world bosses that you fight. And generally on day 2, you want to kill at least 1 or 2 of them to get the loot that they have, as this will give you an option, but it's kind of depends on how far you've progressed through the game. So let's go through and clear day 2, and then we can show the Nightlord fight. Also, by the way, after you do your first Nightlord, the map will change quite a lot and have special events going on. This is an example of this. I'm not going to tell you everything that goes on, but just know that as you progress in the game, the world will change and look different over time. Also, this is what these Spirit Hawk things look like. So if you want to do, like, go back into your glider, you can activate these. It's just like the jump pads. You just get a little bit more freedom of movement as you're going around. So now that we've killed the second boss at the end of day 2, we will now unlock the chance to challenge the Nightlord. So we want to grab our item here. We get our purple little thing. I'm just going to get some defenses from that, getting that passive. And then this weird, strange goop loop will appear in the middle. And you'll notice that the circle doesn't expand again this time. If we go out into this, we'll die. And so we want to take the goop and get gooped and go up into the sky, and we'll go to the final stage where we get to challenge the Nightlord. So day 3, it brings us here to this area, a staging area. We get to go over here to this. We can spend to level up if we want to. Level 12's really actually pretty good for going into the Nightlord. Then you'll be able to strengthen your arguments. If you want to ever upgrade anything here, you can. And you can also come over here and talk to this vendor. You can buy some smithing stones. If you have the cash, you can get some bubble tears as well for some defense. And then all you have to do is take all of your characters, whether you're solo or in a group, and run over to the door and look at the cool vista, check out the skybox and the effects. Go over to the door, it'll play an animation, and then you'll challenge the Nightlord, which is dependent on whatever you had. Like, you know, I did the triple-headed wolf because it's the first one you get to face. You walk up, do this animation, you can skip it if you want, challenge the boss, and then you beat the boss, or you don't, you can start again. Based on how long you went through the match, you'll get more of the merc, the special currency for the jar bazaar. You also get some cool drops, some relics, and then you get to progress further and further. The ultimate goal is to play all the classes, beat all the Nightlords, you know, finish all the content, group up with your friends and have fun. And each boss will have its own unique mechanics, move sets, and everything else. And then depending on how strong you got through your run, you may have an easier or harder chance up against the boss that you're facing. And that's the gist of Elden Ring Nightreign. So we're going to take this random group that I was just doing live while we're playing, face off against the boss. Let me know what you think about the game down below in the comments. If you have any tips or tricks for new players as well, make sure you drop that down too. And enjoy the game. Enjoy the Nightreign. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below. Leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people. And don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.